And actually, it's the top of the hour, so I think we're going to get started. And once again, I'm Christine Orr. I'm the North American Sales Director for Ringgold. And joining me today in the webinar is Giselle Rollins, who is our Customer Support Manager, and Moritz Schick, who is our CDO Editor. And what we're going to do today is go through a brief presentation on the CDO. I know we have some folks who are new CDO clients and folks who are new to Ringgold, as well as some people who've been with us for a long time, and this is kind of a refresher training for them, so we want to cover all the bases today. So we're going to go through this brief PowerPoint, and then we're going to dig into the CDO and show you how to do a couple of key things. Okay, and if you have questions as we go through, again, use the chat window and we can respond to them as we go along. For those of you who are new to working with Ringgold, I wanted to take just a moment to tell you about us and our background. The company was founded 10 years ago. 2015 is actually our 10th anniversary. Oh, and before I forget to let you know, this session is being recorded. We have some people who are unable to attend today, and we wanted to make sure that everyone can see this training session, and we'll have it sent out to other folks later. So just to be aware that the session is being recorded today. And we'll also give you a link to it later on so you can take a look at it as well if you wanted to go over anything. Again, we were founded about 10 years ago, and our cornerstone service is the Identify database. That's what most folks know us for. And what really, what we aim to do is provide publishers and intermediaries quality information, well-structured information about institutions and content that is part of the scholarly supply chain, and provide that information in a way that reduces friction. And what I mean by that is highly structured, curated information that can be passed between people or systems within the same organization and across the supply chain in a manner that can be understood and easily interpreted. So when our data is clean and well structured, then trust in the data and the information can increase, and we all are able to make much more competent decisions when we feel that our source data is much better. And that's what we do with the CDO. Talking a bit about the institutional data side of the Ringgold business. Like I said, the Identify database was founded 10 years ago, and it's a database of institutions that are found in the scholarly supply chain. So institutions that license your content, publishers, intermediaries, and including consortia. The Ringgold identifier is a unique numerical identifier. A lot of folks, if they don't know anything about Ringgold, they know the Ringgold number, and that's what this is. And it's a unique numerical ID used to identify each organization or subsidiary component of an organization with an identifier, and it's also used in the CDO. For those of you who are familiar with CDO, you probably have seen these numbers, and we'll point them out again today. It's a powerful little piece of data that can be used to join information across systems. And we also use it in Identify and the CDO. And because consortia are quite complex, those of you who are working in consortia licensing understand this, and they're really high-value organizations as well. You know, 1 or 2 deals can be worth several $100,000s to a large publisher. So it's vital that we all have clear, consistent, and validated data about these institutions, and that is what the CDO aims to provide our publishers. So here's a brief agenda of what we're going to go over today. Essentially, we're going to review the ways that you can use the Consortia directory, both tactically, kind of on a one-off basis, and also strategically to help form your consortia sales plan and to look at the consortia market with a little bit of a 30,000-foot view. Okay, and here are a few of the items that we're actually going to cover today. How to download content, pull it into your CRM, create mailing lists. Again, how to look up an individual consortia and inform negotiations with that consortia with critical information that we provide you that's really geared towards the sales, the consortium negotiation and sales cycle. We're also, because we do have clients who utilize both CDO and Identify. We are going to take a brief hop to Identify and take a look at the consortia information that's available there. And overall, I hope we can show you how to make researching consortia much more efficient so that you can really get away from researching and digging. Let us do that job so that you can get on to negotiations and researching your prospect list and approaching the consortium market more holistically. As a bit of an overview, the content is researched by our own editor, March. Schick March is devoted to this resource pretty much 100% of his time. We only include verifiable information. And what we mean by that is information gleaned from primary sources. We don't use Wikipedia. We use primarily the Consortia Institute sites, the websites of member organizations. Occasionally we will also use publisher press releases, things like that. But so we want to provide you with high quality information here. There are more than 425 active consortia records within the CDO. And what I mean by active consortia records are consortia that are actively licensing content or have previously licensed content. We have a handful of institutions in the CDO that have, like I said, the way to get into the CDO is you've got to be a consortia licensing content from more than one publisher. We've put a lot of consortia in there. A handful over the years since being added to the directory have ceased operations or they have ceased licensing. They've moved on to other kinds of functions. However, we don't, according to our editorial policy, we do delete records from the CDO. So for your reference and for clarity's sake, we keep those records there, but we will annotate and update the records to let you know that, hey, this is a consortia that no longer is licensing, or the licensing activity of this consortia is now handled by another consortia, which is kind of common. So we keep that information in there for you. For folks that are also Identify clients, you will notice there are about 700 consortia in the Identify database. But don't be alarmed at the disparity. What that means is there are a lot of consortia that exist for purposes other than licensing content. They are involved only in ILL, or they're involved in training or other kinds of functions suitable for the library sphere. But because the CDO's main aim is to support sales and licensing, to give you a sales tool, we don't include those consortia as a matter of course in the CDO. So just so you understand where the difference is coming from. Okay? Each entry, and we're going to go through these in detail, each entry in the CDO has a full membership list, a list of vendors whose content they license, and any other information that we can find that should help you in your strategic planning and licensing activities. Information on licensing terms, links to model licenses, okay, and contact details. So we'll go through these in just a moment. The CDO is not a static resource. Consortia, as you know, if you're working in the consortia field, it changes all of the time. And so Moritz is busy updating and making amendments to existing records. All the records are updated and reviewed at least once per year, top to bottom. And a highly active consortia, the ones that we know everybody is licensing to, we look at them more frequently. We also add new consortia as they emerge, and as we become aware of them, we create full profiles for new consortia on a regular basis. We added 16 this year in all different regions of the globe. A couple were created because our customers asked for them. They called us up, or we have a feedback link that I'm going to show you, and said, hey, I've just heard about this consortia. Can you guys investigate it for me? Can you tell me more about it? Do they license? What's their story? And we can also do that. So if you ever find out about new consortia and you don't happen to see them in the CDO, let us know and we will do the research, okay, and provide you back with authoritative information, okay? One note I want to go back to on the scope. I'm sorry I overlooked this. For those of us who work in consortia licensing, we often conflate the terms consortia and multi-site licensing. Okay, all consortia are multi-sites, but not all multi-sites are consortia. Consortia are really organizations that are persistent. Cooperin in France. It's existed for years. It will continue to exist for years more. It has a fixed structure. It has staff. It is a real persistent organization. Multi-site alliances or multi-site licenses kind of happen when, say, an ad hoc group of organizations gets together to see if maybe we can get, a good deal on something. Or it's a group of institutions that there's not a consortia there, but I used to do consortia licensing very heavily in my previous position, and a lot of my licensing activity was really what we could put in the group buyers club. A whole bunch of DOE labs would get together. Well, there's not a consortia for DOE, U.S. Department of Energy labs, but they very often will buy things for, collectively, or try to do some kind of a group, get a kind of a group discount. But the Department of Energy is not a consortia. So those are the kind of things that will not be in CDO. What you will find in CDO are organizations that exist over time, they're persistent, and they exist for one of their sole purposes for existing is to collectively acquire academic and scholarly content. Okay, so just a scope note there. Okay. And just a reminder about everyone's subscription. Everyone here is a subscriber today, and thanks for joining the subscriber training session today. But access is enterprise-wide. Anyone at your organization can utilize the full CDO. All right. We make it available in two different manners. The web interface, which is what we're going to show you today, which is what most folks will be familiar with. That is accessible via username and password, individual username and passwords, or you can also send us your organization's IP addresses, and it gives you a little bit more seamless access. Okay? We also have a weekly data feed where we can basically send out the entire CDO database for incorporation into your own data warehouse and your own internal information systems. You can do that as well. If you have questions about either one of those access methods, you either need to add users, add IP addresses, or you'd like to talk to us about the utility of the weekly data feed, just give us a call and we can talk about that. Okay? We have subscriptions available for the full, which is the global CDO, but we also have preset regions. Sometimes folks are just active licensing to the North American market or just the European market, and we make those preset slices available, and we can also do custom regions. So if your sales strategy is changing, you're expanding, hey, we're now taking on Consortia in Europe or something when we previously only did other regions, give us a call and we can make sure that you have access to the right slices of the database in case that suits your needs a little bit better. Okay? So now what we're going to do is pretty much dig into the database. Oh, quick, by the way, you'll get this presentation at the end. We'll send this to everyone, make this available as well as the recorded session. But there are help links throughout the CDO, and you can also always email us at cdo.support@ringgold.com or contact myself, Christine, or Diane Kogan, your account rep for this, and we'll also show you the feedback button. Okay, so let's get right into it. And if anyone has any questions, again, please feel free to chat them into us as we go through the session, all right? So, oops, that is, hold on just a second, guys. Here we go. All right, Consortium Directory Online. I'm going to just take you through these links on the left really quickly before we dig into the data. Okay? Introduction is just a little bit of basic information, background for folks who are kind of new to the consortium market. Okay? The support link here to the left will get you all of the help, maybe not all the help you need because we're always here for sessions, but hey, there's a full user guide that you can download, and there are some how-tos all the way through. Okay, so always feel free to take a look at that. Okay. The glossary explains, again, what we do here at Ringgold, all information is highly structured. So what this explains is every structured field of data that we include in the CDO in the profiles and in the database view. Okay, so you can kind of go through that, take a look. A little bit of additional useful information for folks maybe new to Consortia licensing. And these are links to key Consortia resources, including model licenses, some policy documents on organizations that are active in the Consortia field. So you may want to take a look through this. These are some helpful resources, okay? Model licenses can really be helpful as well. Okay. There's a CDO newsletter that we put out a couple of times a year. Moritz writes this. We also, and what you'll see is new consortia are listed here. We also promote new consortia via our Twitter feed. Ringgold has a Twitter feed, and we also will disseminate the information in the general Ringgold customer bulletin. So we want to let you know that we're always adding new things to the database. Okay. On kind of a housekeeping note, this control link, if you want to change your password to the CDO, you can change your password here. When we initially sign you up for CDO, sometimes the password we give you, actually all the times, it'll be very cryptic, very secure with you know, symbols, letters, numbers, a real mix. But if you want to change it to something more memorable, more consistent for you, you can always do that here in the control panel. And this is the feedback link I've been talking about. Okay, so you can put in your name and email address and then let us know if there's a consortium you would like us to update or add to the directory, and then we will reply to you and let you know when that is done. Okay, so always feel free to use that. Okay, but the two buttons where you're going to spend most of your time, search and analysis. Okay, let's go to search. Okay. Does anyone have any questions so far before we dig in? Okay, I'm not seeing any chats come through, so I'm just going to dig in. The first thing we want to do is really walk you through a typical record, okay? And let's use everybody's favorite, CAPES in Brazil, okay? And then to consortia list, all right? Oh, let me go back to that just one moment. There was the link that gets you to this view here, and this is what I call the directory view, and then there's a link, to, wherever you see this Adobe Acrobat link, to a narrative PDF, and we're going to walk you through the fields of data that are in both of these views, okay? So here's the consortium name, where they're located, the Ringgold ID, and again, for those of you, this is the unique numerical identification number for the CAPES consortium. Let's say they change their name, their number would still be the same, okay? And it's the same organization. And by the way, if you click on a Ringgold ID within the CDO, you're going to get taken to identify, okay? So for those of you who are licensing both databases, this is an easy way to hop between the two of them. But if you're only a CDO client and you click on this, you may get a little bit you'll get a link that looks unfamiliar to you. But just so you know, that's where it's trying to take you over to the identified database. Okay. Anyway, here's the complete contact details within the CDO. We always provide phone, email, if you can find them, fax numbers, names of all of the folks who are at the head of the consortia, anyone who you might need to interact with, okay, to work with the consortia. All right. We also provide you a list of the members of the consortia and a list of the vendors. Let me go through each one of these. What you'll find in the member list are the full legal name of each of the entities in their native language, and the only other piece of information that we have in the Consortia directory here, all right, so here's the member, okay, is this university, this member, their Ringgold number, and which consortia are they a part of. There are many organizations that are members of more than one consortia, and we'll take a look at one of those in a moment. Okay. Um, on the vendor side, what you'll see is really a list of the vendors that the consortia reports they are licensing from. Okay, so here's American Chemical Society. Both of these are hot links. You saw where you can go if you click on one of the institutions that is a member. You can get a list of other consortia that it may be a member that it is a member of. If you click on one of the vendor links, you will get a list from the CDO of institutions or consortia that report licensing this vendor's content. Okay, what we don't have are lists of what journals they have or what ebook packages they might have, what products there are, but really what you will see is, again, a list of the consortia that report they have licensed content as a consortia from this particular vendor. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. All right, now that is the view here in the database view. Let's take a look at the PDF profile. And the PDF profile is what I also like to call the story. It's the narrative profile. It's the thing that's going to give you a much more kind of meat on the bone to explain who are these people, what are they licensing, what are they like, where's all this extra information that I can really use to dig in. So before you start negotiating or working with a particular consortia, I highly recommend taking a look at the profile as well. Okay. So here, this tells you all of the background about COPPUS. Of course, it's going to repeat these PDFs, which you can download and print out. These will repeat all of the information that you saw in that directory view, but it's going to give you a lot more also. So here's, about the general scope notes, the foundation of the Brazilian Ministry of Education. Okay. Free access to a large online library of resources from publishers around the world, so you get kind of a scope note. Access is granted to all federally funded higher ed institutions. So you get a really broad scope note for who is COPPUS, what do they do, kind of a sense of who are these guys, all right? Going to get the laundry list again of what publishers' content they are licensing. Members, we have a little extra note here. COPPUS is they don't always provide a comprehensive list on their website about their participants, so we have as many as we can verify based on the information provided publicly on their website. Okay? Additional background information on the institutions that are members. Here's from sitting in my old kind of sales and marketing seat, this is what I always wanted to use. What content acquisition policy? What are they buying and why? Okay? Model licenses and usage stats we will provide where we can. Criteria for inclusion. We want to give you information so that whatever offer you prepare for a consortia, if we can tell you about any non-starters, any things that are highly important to them. Again, they want all publishers to be counter-compliant and to also be participants in the Portico or have some kind of commitment to long-term electronic archiving of content. These are key for COPPUS, so if we can find out about things like those and verify them, we want to include them for you because that's the kind of stuff that would make your offer much more appealing to them. Again, we're always trying to give you information that will help you craft an offer that will be more successful, okay? That will have a greater chance of success with the consortia, okay? A lot of consortia actually do marketing to members, so we want to be able to tell you about things like that. Sometimes that can be very helpful. What kind of a consortia is it? What's the classification? And we use two phrases, opt-in and closed. And folks who do a lot of consortia licensing know these are the two varieties they come in, okay? A closed consortia is a one for all and all for one. Very typically, COPPUS operates on this basis. If they determine to license from you, they're licensing it on behalf of all 400 and some odd participants. Other organizations like Couperin in France, folks are familiar with those guys, they most typically work on an opt-in basis. And we will include that as their classification. An opt-in is the kind of consortia where you present an offer and then each individual member gets to say yay or nay, I'd like to have that, I do not want to have that. So understanding that will allow you to craft an offer, again, that's going to be more, more likely to succeed with those consortia and more appropriate for them, okay? This consortia also participates in training, so we include that as an additional level of classification. Membership type. We tell you what kind of organizations make up the membership. Of those 400 and some odd institutions that are part of the COPPAS family, what are they? Most of them, of course, are going to be academic. That's the kind of institutions that make up consortia around the world anyway. Most persistent consortia, they are born of the academic sphere, so that's the basis. But you will also see many consortia in the CDO that have as part of their members, let's say hospitals or research centers, government labs and things like that. K-12 sometimes, public libraries occasionally. So we will always classify the kinds of members in this membership type field. Okay? What kind of content do they specialize in? COPPAS can collect anything. You will see some consortium, we'll go back to the search screen and look at this, that exclusively collect specific kinds of content like medical, health, or languages and more general things. So we'll take a look at that in the search screen as well. And here you can always see the date stamp. When did we last review this consortia top to bottom? And you can see we just did this one yesterday. Morris is a very busy man. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, go back to that search screen. So now that we've walked through a record and seen the kind of content is in there, how else can we use the CDO? So obviously you can look up a single consortia. You're getting ready to prepare something for a particular consortia. They give you a call and say, hey, we'd love to have a proposal from you. Oh gosh, hop in here and look them up. Okay, and again, you can enter the full name of the consortia, or you can look for just the acronym like DRAA. Okay, they're formerly known as the Digital Resource Acquisition Alliance of Chinese Academic Libraries, but DRAA, formerly known as CALIS. So you can look them up via acronym or by part of their name. Okay, you can also look for a consortia member. So again, thinking about tactical uses, a lot of times you get a call from an organization, from an institution, a library saying, or a college saying, hey, we'd love to subscribe to your content. Can we do so via a consortium? Let's say you get a call from the University of Arizona. Say, let's check you out. Let's see what you're in. University of Arizona. Notice there's different campuses and colleges here, but let's say it's the main University of Arizona. Hey, they're a member of 5 different consortia. Maybe you as a publisher already have something going with Amigos, or let's say the Christian Library Consortium, and you can do something via one of those, put them in one of those buckets and offer them a particular consortia deal. So that's one way to use the CDO in a tactical manner. Okay. You can also, if you happen to have the Ringgold ID of an organization, you can look it up that way for you identify users. You can start to filter for consortia that you might want to start approaching. And let's talk about a couple of different ways to build strategic target lists and prospect lists. You can look by region. Okay, you can whittle it down further by country. Okay, and you can only really select one at a time. Okay, so let's say we're going to look in Australia. We've got a new sales and marketing strategy for the year. We're focusing on the Pacific region. We want to take a look at Australia and see what kind of consortia action we can get going there. Here are all the consortia that are located within Australia. Okay, so you can filter that way by location. You can also do by state. So there's a couple of different geographic slices you can do depending on how precise you want to be. And again, what this is giving you is where the consortia are located, not necessarily where the members are. Not that there are that many transnational consortia, but if you're looking at states and provinces, you're going to find statewide consortia and things like that, okay, rather than a national consortia that has members within a specific state. Okay. You can look by vendor and see, well, show me all the consortia that say they're licensing stuff from Alexander Street Press. Okay, let's just search and see. Okay. you can look by consortium activity. And again, the only ones that I think most folks will be really interested in are the licensing kind, licensing closed or the opt-in. Okay? This is a great way to find kind of the low-hanging fruit, I think, for your specific subject areas. Find the consortia that only care about your kind of content. They don't want, the science and technology, they don't, if you have, if you're Alexander Street Press, you're not going to want to even bother licensing to any of these guys or even attempt to work with them because they don't want, general academic content or humanities and social sciences-based content. They are looking for hard sciences and hard sciences only. Okay. On the other hand, if you're the American Institute of Physics, this is going to be a great starting point for you. Okay. So again, the subject specialist and also the membership type. Again, all of the consortia profiled here will have academic organizations at the core of their membership, but there are many other that will have additional kinds of organizations that are part of the membership list. So let's say you're a medical publisher. Well, let's see what other consortia have in addition to, the academic institutions may have hospitals or medical libraries or other medical institutions as part of their list. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to kind of whittle this large consortia field down to ones where your content should be more appealing. Okay, actually let's go back to that because I do want to show you, let's say this is a list you do want to work with. There are a couple of things you can do and pieces of information you can extract from the CDO. We've already showed you can download those PDF profiles. Okay, print them out, read them, take a look at them, that kind of thing. But one of the things you may also want to do is use some of the data from the CDO to enhance your CRM, to create a mailing campaign or a mailing list. Okay, so let's say, these are the consortia for me. I want to go after these guys. Okay, so I'm going to select a whole bunch of these. Let's see, I want all of the ones in Italy and I want all of the ones in Spain and the UK. These are all the ones I want. You can also pick them one by one if you like. Okay, or when you hit select all, it'll select all in that country. Okay, in this kind of a list. And let's say I want to get these contact details. Here we go. 120 consortia I've just grabbed, okay? And I'm going to output this as a file to my PC. All right, I'm not going to try to download all 120 at once, but this is the kind of list that you will get out, okay? And you can use this and import it into your CRM, create a mailing list from this. So each one of the consortia that I've selected and all of the contact details, phone, fax, email, for the consortia heads and also the staff where available. Okay? You can do the same thing if you want to download a member list and say, oh, I'm sure there's a good way to clear this out, but let's say I want the members instead. Do the same thing, just click this yellow button. Okay? And it's actually pulling that data right now. Okay? And all of these I'm going to start getting member lists for. All right? And again, output as a file to your PC. Okay? And it's going to come out as an Excel file. And what you will get is a list of all the members for the consortia. It will give you the full legal name of each institution that's a member of the consortia, and it will give you their Ringgold ID, and it will tell you which consortia they are a member of. Again, that's all of the information that's held for members within the CDO. Okay? And I think it's a good time to take a quick look over at Identify so you can see the difference. For those of you who are subscribing to both resources, let's say you do use this list to take a look and say, oh gosh, I really want to, oh gosh, Neocon, all right, in Russia. We just zipped right by them. Okay, so here's the Neocon list. They're pretty active in licensing from lots and lots of publishers, as you can see. So they're one that we always keep an eye on. All right. So here's a full list of the members. But let's say, you've got specialized content. You're like, gosh, would they even want my kind of stuff? Or what kind of institutions are part of Neocon? Okay. Let me find out a little bit more about them. You can hop over to identify. I'm going to just look up Neocon, just so you can see. All right, and here is what a license, here's what an identify record for Neocon would look like, okay, with an identify. Here is a great thing. So for folks who are also identify clients and who are using our audit service, which is where our researchers actually match your subscriber list, your customer list to institutions. One of the nice things that you can do, and really very handy, is create very quick consortia reconciliation reports, okay? Where do I already have business in that consortia or not? I don't know about you, but that was always the first thing I always wanted to do when I was licensing to consortia, was see how much business do I have already there? Do they have 100 members and I have no business with any of them? Or do I already have 20 or 30 accounts there and I'm going to work on an upselling kind of a consortia campaign? Okay, this is a really easy way to find out. So you're going to click on this button, View Consortia Subscriptions for Members, and bam, this is it. There's 870 some odd members of Neocon, okay? And the data we're looking at here is really just kind of test data from Ringgold. We have some like little fake journals that we put in here so we can look at the, so we can show this kind of thing. So here's one that I've pulled earlier where there's a little more consortia penetration activity. And this is the Great and Western Library Alliance, GWILA, in the Western United States. A lot of folks are familiar with them. So this is what a penetration report for GWILA would look like. And you can see, again, this is my fake journals of like bones and breakages and things like that. Anytime you see an S or a little red flag, it means there's some subscription business there or within the hierarchy for this particular institution. So again, we looked at this Arizona State earlier. Let's take a look. So this means we've got business here in Arizona State. Oh, let's see where, there's the subscriptions. Arizona State University School of Sustainable Engineering and the Built Environment. Okay? So imagine trying to dig through all of that and find your subscriptions within these larger hierarchies. So this is where the auditing and identify component can supplement the information that you're getting out of the consortia directory. Okay? So this is a basic list. You can actually export this by just hitting Run Consortia Report. I'll show you what that looks like. Remember, here's our Arizona State University. Ooh, one account within the hierarchy. Here's someone, Kansas State University's got a subscription at the top level. Now, a little note about consortia. The university, Arizona State, is going to be the member. The School of the Built Environment is not technically a member, but they're related to a member. So in consortia licensing land, that's meaningful to us. Okay, we want to know about those consortia accounts because it counts very typically as part of the business that we already have with those consortia. So anyway, this takes a huge amount of the research time out of that consortia reconciliation report. And so for those of you who are utilizing both services, this is a great way they can work in concert. You can actually export this report to Excel, or you can dig further and say, well, show me exactly what journals, which one of my journals each one of these accounts have, okay? Here's one, University of New Mexico. There's 2 accounts. There could be 2 or 3 subscriptions at each one of those accounts within this organization. So if I want to see the actual detail, the title level detail, this is the institution level detail. Let's get to the title level detail. You click that Consortia Detail Report button, and it will take you to this. Both of these are exportable as Excel documents, and all of the data that you've provided as part of your audit is what gets echoed back to you in this highly structured, definitive format, making your research into consortia land much more efficient. Okay, so if anyone on the line is an audit and identify member and you want to talk about how this can work for you, give me a call and we'll walk you through and show you with your own data how this will work. Okay? And let's go back over to the consortia report. Okay? And again, we're back here in CDO. And one of the last things that I want to show you with the CDO, this is really powerful. Like I said, there's two buttons you're going to use all the time, and that's your search and your analysis button. And what the analysis does, this is very useful, is allow you to see, to compare the consortia list for different vendors. Okay? This is really handy because what you can do is say, well, who's licensing my competitor's content but not mine? Okay? And what we'll do here, you can slice this by region, okay, or you can just say all regions. Okay, so you can whittle it geographically if you like. And then you can pick, you know, let's say I'm Adam Matthew and not, again, I'm picking on all the people in the A's, Alexander Street Press. Okay? So let's say I'm Alexander Street Press and I'm looking for consortia prospects, and I consider Adam Matthew as one of my competitors. So show me consortia that license Adam Matthew. Here's the list that licenses Alexander Street Press, and here's the list that does not take Alexander Street Press from the primary list. Okay? So this is my hit list. Okay? It's really powerful. And again, from here, you can just say, you know what, I'm going to call these guys up right now. Give me the contacts. Okay? And get your contact list. Okay? We'll go back to analysis and search. Does anyone have any questions as I'm going through this? Giselle, do you have any questions, or I'm sorry, do you have any suggestions as to other things that clients typically ask when you're training or working with them?
Well, because it's so simple to use, Christine, I don't really get a lot of questions, to be honest with you. We've also got the support site, which you showed earlier, where there's an answer to every question you've got, really. But if anyone does have a question, then please feel free to email us. We're very happy to answer, you know, whatever question you've got. So, but you should find the answer to that question on the support site. It is pretty simple to use, which is one of the advantages of the CDO, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I don't get huge amounts of questions on the kind of how-to, but if any of the clients who are on the line today want to talk specifically about what your consortia aims are, what you're looking to do this year, it's January. It's a great time to be starting to think about who you might want to approach for the 2016 subscription year. I know it's not really far away, but folks are making their libraries are making their budgetary decisions, you know, late spring. So if there are any consortia that you really want to be targeting and you're not quite sure where to start with the CDO, please give us a call. We can walk you through this again personally and talk about some of your particular consortia sales goals and give you some you know, real live tips with your data and your needs in mind, going through the CDO looking for just the most relevant information for you. So again, one last reminder about the support tab here. And again, you can download the full CDO user guide, or you can always give us a call or an email. And also, as you're going through, if you're unable to locate a consortia, or you think there's a new consortia that you've heard of, hey, an agent just called me up and they want to do, they want to propose, you know, me to do a proposal for such and such a consortia, and they're not found in the CDO, always let us know about them, and we will research and get back to you with whatever we can find on a verified profile for them. So do reach out to us frequently. We love to hear from you guys. And if anyone has any last-minute questions, I'll keep the line open for another little bit. Otherwise, we're going to end a few minutes early today. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything else come over the transom. But here's all of my contact details. And we would love to hear from you if you have any questions or if there's anything else we can do to help make the CDO an even more useful tool for you. So thank you so much and have a